We've got our great friend, State Senator Brian Lenney, joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
Look, you doesn't sound very happy. You're smiling, but you're like,
I'm still. It's in the heat of the primary, so busy, under heavy fire from the establishment type side of things. But I'm holding up, fighting the good fight.
Well, what's it? I don't even know where to begin because usually I'm talking about this with myself and Tea Party Bob yelling at me. But when you take a look at this primary season, why is so much money being spent not only in state Senate races, state rep races, but precinct committee men as well? Yeah,
we have billionaires, actual billionaires funding money, attacks against good precinct committeemen trying to install. I say install. Because usually people aren't playing in the precinct committee races with money. I think it's because we're right on the cusp of where Colorado was in the early 2000s. So Colorado was a red state. There was a group of very powerful, wealthy people who wanted to take control of the state, and they did it in Colorado. It's called you and I have talked about it in the past, the Rocky Mountain Heist. And I think that's going on in Idaho right now. There's a lot of good conservative people, not a lot, but enough in political positions who are not yes men, who do what the people want, not what the establishment wants. So there's money being spent against them because the established order wants yes men. They don't want people who serve. They don't want people who are going to serve their constituents. So they're putting big money behind it because they want to put people in there they can control. That's my opinion on it anyway.
Well, let's talk a look about your race. What would you like to say?
Oh man,
what's it about?
I think it's kind of about the guy running against me. I think he's kind of on the revenge tour. I like to say he was unseated in 2022 by a pretty healthy margin. Nampa showed up and I won my election 2 years ago by over 15%. And I ran on a very conservative platform, and I stuck to my guns. And I kind of what I was just talking about a minute ago. There's two types of people. Here's what it's about, Kevin. There's two types of people, in my opinion, who get involved in politics or who get elected. There's the yes men, which is everyone knows what that is. Rubber stamp, yes sir, I'll do what you say. They serve the lobbyist class. They serve the executive branch. They serve the bureaucrats. And then there's people like me who, I could really give a rip less about the lobbyist class or the bureaucrats or the executive branch. As far as doing their bidding, I got elected by the people of Nampa to serve the people of Nampa. So priority number one for me is securing and protecting people's individual rights, constitutional rights, restoring quality education. I want to fix, contrary to popular opinion, I want to fix the public schools. Our public schools aren't measuring up when you look at kids who can't read, write, do math.
Yeah, but we're spending a lot of money on public education.
Yeah, thank you. We continue to throw money at it. And the results keep getting worse. But the election is really about the establishment versus someone who fights for the people. And my challenger is an establishment Republican who will kind of take his marching orders and do what he's told, and I'm not. So that's why hundreds of thousands of dollars are being spent against me individually. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because they want someone they can control, and that's not me. And I think that's the high-level 100,000-foot view what this election's about.
Now, again, you're a professional writer, so I'll try to inject some humor. We'll see if it flies here on KIDO Talk Radio. But what was it like the first time you saw the TV ad on Channel 7, which is again, because, Brian, as you know, I really have a life, so I'm just watching the news all the time. I'm going, that's a lot of money for a spend in October. What went on when you saw that? I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars for a negative ad against you, Senator Treacle, and Senator Nichols.
Yeah, I mean it's that specific ad. There's for those of I think everyone in the whole planet has seen it by now. But that specific ad, they've spent one group, one PAC, has spent over $300,000 on an attack ad to unseat three very conservative senators, myself, Senator Nichols, and Senator Treacle. The first time I saw it, I actually just kind of laughed because I said, "What?"
Right.
I don't even know who this guy is. It's on there saying we're anti-police and all this other.
I think that guy was going to lock.
Hogwash.
That guy was going to lock you up there. The police officer.
Oh yeah, it has this big thug-looking UFC-looking guy.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I said, this is the same group running ads saying that Chris, for example, Senator Chris Treacle's a veteran. He served our country, and they're saying he's against veterans. So that's the same side push. So I kind of just laughed at it because they started running it last year, and they never stopped. And everybody's seen it, but I think, I don't know if you saw just earlier this week, Channel 7, to my shock, they did an ad.
No. I watched
Yeah.
Brian Holmes and Andrew, the little kid reporter. Yes, they even did a story on it.
They did a story debunking the ad that their station runs. So for people who haven't seen it, Channel 7 did a thing saying this ad is not true, that Senator Lenney is not against police and all this other stuff. So, but then they continue to run the ad, which is interesting. But it's
Well, they can't turn it down. It's money.
oh yeah, I know that they're not, Brian Holmes and Andrew aren't the ones deciding who, they're not the sales team or the media buying team, but Channel 7 continues to run the ad, and they're sending out mailers and stuff. But it shows you, and this is so cliche, but it's true. You don't get flack unless you're over the target. If I was just a little yes man robot establishment guy, that's who they want in there, and I'm not, and I don't go in there. I don't take orders from people except for the people who elected me. And so you get flack when you're over the target, and I'm getting, I'm just a regular guy. I'm concerned about inflation, and I struggle with the same things. I have a mortgage. There's a lot of legislators who don't even have a mortgage because they're very well off. I'm just a regular guy from Nampa. I'm struggling with grocery prices, gas prices, property tax, all that. That stuff hits me just as much as it hits everyone else. And a lot of, I think, the biggest issue, and this is probably the biggest differentiator between me and the challenger coming back for his revenge tour. The biggest issue is all of this overspending at the state level that we're doing at the state level, the state government. That drives inflation in D.C., and then inflation is where it hits us all in the pocketbook. So I'm going in there saying, hey, let's stop the overspending. Let's actually take a real look at these budgets. Whereas, my challenger, last time he was in there, voted for every single spending bill, and he wrote most of those spending. He helped author a lot of those spending bills, and then he voted for every single one of them, yet he calls himself a fiscal conservative. So that's probably the biggest differentiator in there, is I'm going in there saying, let's hit the brakes on the spending that's driving overinflation, that's causing our gases and our grocery and our housing prices to go up. And they don't like that. The state government wants to grow, and I'm saying let's hit pause on that.
How do you see this playing out?
As far as
your race, and again, you've got people funding the overthrow of the chairwoman. She doesn't hold anything back. So essentially, this is a Dorothy Moon primary.
That's part of it, yeah. I mean, we're at the point, so Kevin, a lot of people, people talk about what's Idaho going to look like in 10 years, 20 years. I think we're on the verge of what's Idaho going to look like in 2026, because we have a lot of good, principled, liberty-minded conservatives being attacked, including myself. That sounds weird to say about myself, but I think it's true.
Look, they've run an ad. I mean,
yeah.
By the way, do you guys hang out? I mean, it looks like the ad that you guys hang out and you don't like the police. You don't like...
Yeah, it's. I always right. Tell people if I'm really close with tons of Nampa officers, because as you know, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and half the dang Nampa PD trains there, and it's when I see that ad, it's like I'm watching somebody else. It's laughable. But how I see it playing out, if these attack ads, if a lot of good people lose their seats, and then we have Reclaim Idaho pushing ranked choice voting, open primaries, if those things go through and they stick, I think we're in trouble in 2026. I think we're that close to Idaho flipping,
especially with open primaries.
Mm-hmm.
But you think they get Dorothy Moon?
I don't.
A lot of money behind it, but she has the passionate base.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, because I don't know who they're going to put up who would, there's rumors that Tom Luna is going to run again. I was at the convention. I voted for Dorothy Moon I voted against Luna and for Dorothy Moon in 2022 at the summer GOP convention. I don't know who they're going to put up. Maybe Tom Luna is going to run again. When he lost his seat in 2022, he kind of, I forgot the exact words because it was a couple of years ago, but he basically said, hey, this is a signal. It's my time to maybe hang it up and go enjoy retirement. But ever since then, he's done the exact opposite. You have a group of very, very well-funded people trying to flip our state back to establishment-type Republicans, and it's the establishment-type Republicans. A lot of them, there's no difference between them and Democrats, except on basically guns and abortion. Other than that, they look just like Democrats. So I don't see Dorothy Moon losing, because I don't know of anyone who is more popular with her. But that's why precinct committee races are so important, and that's why you have these billionaire groups going and playing in. So for people who don't know, precinct committeeman races, that's neighborhood politics.
Yeah, no, I got a text and it said it was from Melaleuca.
Yeah,
and
Frank Vandersloot. That's it.
Right. I love Idaho.org, and I don't know if it was really legitimately from Melaleuca, but I don't know why it would be on there. But you never know about deep fakes, but telling people about precinct committeemen.
No, I think that was from Melaleuca, which is crazy to see them playing in so precinct committeeman races. That, in my opinion, that's the most important. And they are that text. I got it. A lot of people got the mass text. They're not wrong, right? Precinct committeeman races, that's neighborhood politics. That's the very foundation of a party. So, and everything else kind of bubbles up from there. That affects our state party. That affects, I think, ultimately our party leadership, which affects, even our representation in Congress ultimately. So if we can keep good conservative people in the precinct committeeman positions, that's where most of the power lies, and it kind of, like I said, just goes up from there. So they were not wrong. Precinct committeeman races are some of the most important races, and that's not just an Idaho thing, that's nationwide. But to see a group like Melaleuca play in the precinct committeeman races means, wow, we are on the verge. We're at a tipping point as a state. Are we going to continue are we going to continue the trend we saw in 2022, which is people woke up because of the pandemic stuff. People realized that's why I ran in 2022. That's why I'm running again. People realized that we have a pandemic in Idaho, and it's not the pandemic they said. The real pandemic is we have a corrupt bureaucratic empire. Are we going to continue that trend and continue to keep and elect more conservatives, or is the tipping point going to go the other way? And are we going to see more establishment people win and take us down the road of Colorado? That's where we're at. And yeah, that Melaleuca text was not wrong.
Yeah.
But it linked to in my opinion, a very, what I view as a very nefarious group trying to flip our state back to more of a purple state. So, we'll see what happens. The primary elections in, I think, 10 or 11 days, something like that.
Senator Lenney, we always appreciate you, sir.
Yes, thanks for having me on.